Good evening. The following episode that you're about to witness contains themes, matter, and subject matter that may not be suitable for our viewers. You may find these terms and these themes to be triggering. So this episode, viewers' discretion is advised.
At high volume.
All right, is it work? Okay, you got it. Good evening, everybody. Hold on, my voice cracked. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of In the Life with Boogie B, your host. I am here tonight with what can I say about this human being? One of my good friends, good girlfriends. I'm gonna let her introduce herself because I can go all day. So, whoa.
Well, in the leather world, I go by Ms. Loki. She, they, it, that bitch, that cunt, that queen.
Here we are. So I start this question with everybody. Being that this is In the Life, I first start off with so how did you get into the leather lifestyle? How did you get into the scene? What was the origin story for Loki?
Ooh, yeah. I guess I always liked the aesthetic before I knew where it came from and what it represented. I was a really big fan of metal and punk, and as you know, with that, a lot of leather, a lot of spikes, and it was always awesome to me. And also, I had a gay uncle who was a Leatherman. Rest in peace, Uncle Danny. And you know, I always had an interest in that, and you know, he knew that I was queer, but I wasn't ready to tell him I was trans.
Mm.
But I think if he knew, he'd still love and accept me. He was a good man, so he was a big influence on me. He kind of encouraged me to go to my first Pride as a teenager, and that's why I used to love the Leathermen, the Bears, the Leather Dykes, and I'm like, I want to be in this world.
It's a fascinating world, isn't it?
It is.
Lots of imagination and exploration to be had. Wow, that's quite the story. I didn't even know that. So I'm getting information just from this art, this piece. Wow. Because I think that's great. Like a lot of people, and you know this, a lot of people don't have a support system, especially when it comes to just expressing themselves. Where they want to express themselves, and they may have family who is just so far gone from reality that they put pressure on them, their friends, and all these environment things. So the fact that you had somebody in your life to kind of encourage you to step out there, because it must have been scary.
Yeah, my father was, is homophobic, transphobic. I haven't spoken to him in years, and it's not just because of his transphobia. It's just he wasn't a good dad. We'll just leave it at that.
Right. It happens. It happens all the time. So where do we go from here? So you got into the scene. What was the first experience like?
Well, if you want to talk about BDSM, my partner at the time, Jeff, lost him to COVID in 2021. Have his initials tattooed on my arm, Jeffrey Scott Guillermo. I love you. I miss you. He was my very first submissive, and that was my introduction to kink and BDSM. He handed me a whip, had me tie him up to one of those railings in a fucking jacket closet. You know what I'm talking about? And I just felt so natural and real with that whip in my hands, and it just
There's something about that whip, huh? That whip gives you superpowers.
And also he was the only person I was intimate with at the time where I didn't feel dysphoric after the fact.
So what are you into as far as like?
Oh, so many different things, you know, and I'm always trying to explore more and learn more. I'm very open to a lot of stuff. Well, I guess definitely like high protocol, predicament bondage, impact play. I love blood play, interrogation play, like just all the role playing. I am more dom leaning, but lately I've been exploring my more submissive side. I guess I'm what they call a middle, which is someone assuming the role of like a tween, you know, and I think that works for me because I'm a baby trans and I am going through a second puberty from all these hormones, so I do think like a teenage girl, so it comes natural.
Wow.
So I love bratting.
Who doesn't love a bride? I do. Quite the list. I'm pretty sure there are more going to be added on.
Oh yeah, and you know, also you can go by my color codes. If you know what red means, you know.
What that red means. Yeah.
Red on the left.
On the left side. I can watch. I can watch from afar, participate.
Oh, I love a good voyeur.
We ain't there yet. We working towards it, but we ain't there right now. So you got into the scene and you discovering yourself and you're doing all these things. Was there any point in that point where you was like, what am I doing? Is this like wrong? Is this weird? Did you ever have those thoughts? Because a lot of people have those thoughts.
Well,
too.
I never thought it was wrong because I never really gave a shit about that. I can curse on here, right?
You was talking about fisting and stuff. I'm pretty sure curse.
Okay.
We already demonetized.
Well, that heteronormative shit. I never really, the punk rock attitude in me never really like put that shit on a pedestal. So I never thought what I was doing was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But as someone who apprenticed for a dom who turned out to be an abuser, I definitely thought about getting out of the life in a public manner simply because like some things were triggering for me, but I never thought of it as immoral or wrong. I never had those thoughts in my head.
Okay. So you got to actually not only be in the scene, but you actually got to like work around that scene. Do you want to talk about that and that experience?
Like, you know, how I was within the scene, like in public terms. Yeah. Well, I went to play parties, all different kinds. House Scorpio was a good one. And, you know, I also would go to the Eagle on code night back when I was identifying as a male, like before I worked there, you know, and like I got away from the Eagle because, like, no disrespect, but I've learned that this is a gay male space, and as a trans femme lesbian, it just isn't my space anymore, and I get that. The staff, my coworkers, 100% supportive and caring, but a lot of the customers were just starting to act very cold toward me and let me know that I don't belong there.
Right, and again, no disrespect or no ill will to the staff at the Eagle, but like you said, the Eagle is definitely not what it once was. It is basically, in my opinion, it's a nightclub now. It's a circuit party, and like they got away from leather. They got away from what made a leather bar, and they turned it into this thing for dress up. You know, for people to come in and they say, oh, I have this harness, so I'm leather, when they don't even know what the fuck it means. They don't know what none of this means, but, you know, they go there to party and do shit like that.
Exactly. And for gay cis males, especially the white ones, to gatekeep leather, I think that's total fucking bullshit, because the thing about leather is it should be open to all queers. Lesbians have been doing it for years. Trans people have been involved in kink for years. So y'all need to stop gatekeeping that shit.
Right. Y'all gatekeep it for the wrong reasons.
Exactly.
You know?
The only people it should be gatekept from is the problematic straights who are swingers and don't understand our traditions, our ethics of consent. Like, you'll have your own parties. You do your own thing, but stay out of our fucking spaces. No
Right.
hate, but
Or if you're
we
gonna
need
come,
our safe spaces.
yeah, or if you're gonna come to the space, realize that you are being a guest. You're a guest in our spaces, and so while we welcome exploration, we welcome people to ask questions and stuff. Don't just assume. That assume culture is very toxic because you have these swingers or you have these cis gay men
Exactly.
who just assume that because you're there that you're automatically going to participate in whatever the fuck they had in mind,
Yeah.
and not even taking 2 seconds to ask
Exactly.
the question, hey, is it okay? It only takes 2 seconds.
Yeah, but also I've seen it more with the cishet people trying to dominate everything as far as play parties go and shit. Because here's the thing, there's an element of privilege that comes with that shit. If a cis straight white couple does kink, ooh, they're exploring their sexuality. But if queers do it, we're deviants.
It's immoral. You're going to hell.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing? First of all, you're confused already.
So check your privilege at the door and know where you are. And especially since what we are into comes from queer culture, remember, you learned from all of us, so respect that shit.
Period. On period. You pretty much hit the nail on the motherfucking head. Just
Damn right.
Do your research. Do your research. And if you are unsure, and I say this all the time, ask. It's okay to ask if you genuinely want to know.
I'm always down to educate.
Right. Because education is a big part of this as well.
Just be nice about it and don't ask easy questions because Google is free.
Google is your friend. If you have an iPhone, Siri is your best friend. You can ask these questions. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find something. But yeah, so got to experience these scenes and stuff. So I guess my next question was basically, do you see any problems within the scene and stuff? But you pretty much answered that.
Yeah, I addressed pretty much everything about that. Everything
so
I've experienced and what I know.
Yeah, so we're just gonna go segue on to the good stuff and the
Hell
positive
yeah.
stuff. So what were some of the positives and some of the good things that came from being in the scene?
Well,
in the life.
Well, definitely getting into the life with my partner at the time, there was a certain level of love and intimacy that I never really felt with anybody. So that was a beautiful thing. And just all the fucking amazing people I've met, like Boogie here, getting patched into Pegasus, Leather Levi, the club. We're not just a club, we're the club for trans and non-binary people in leather and in kink. And I became Sergeant at Arms by vote, and I'm very proud of that title, and I do my best to keep honoring it, and and that's important to me. That's a positive because it was hard for me to find a lot of confidence in myself because being in mostly cis queer spaces for so many years and just coming into my own as a trans woman, identifying as non-binary before that, it was kind of a shot to my confidence. I felt out of place, but now I feel like I finally have a fucking home.
And that's the most important part. Like, you want to feel like you are a part of something. You want to feel like you're making a difference. And having that connection, having that family structure who understands you. It don't necessarily have to be, again, because people like to put this whole, I'm looking for a family, I'm looking for vibes, but they don't necessarily put the work into doing the research because it's a two-way street.
Well, the way I found Pegasus was kind of serendipitous, if you will. Like, I was doing the Queer Liberation March. I think it was the first one since the lockdown, right? I was identifying as non-binary at the time. This was pre-hormones. And so I was saying, I wish to someone I was next to, I don't remember who it was, in the leather contingent. And then I said, I wish there was more space and more clubs and organizations for non-binary and trans people in leather. And then, as you would know it, like out of nowhere, the president and founder of Pegasus, Barbie Reggio, came up to me and said, "Oh, yeah, we had that," like in so many words. And I'm like, whoa!
Right. Sometimes it just be those moments where, you just ask the question and like the universe will just present.
The universe did present it. And you know, and I'm very like for it to happen just like that, for putting the intention out there, I'm like, wow, this is some spiritual ass shit.
Yeah, it is. We're gonna talk more about Pegasus in a bit, but I
Okay.
want to get back to you said at first you identified as non-binary, and what was what was that like? Because I know for me, like I identify as non-binary, and but I also kind of like doing research and stuff realized that being non-binary falls under the trans
It
umbrella.
does,
So
but
I'm just want to know, like, what was your like take on it? Like,
well, I was struggling with gender dysphoria since I was 4 years old, and I was so heavily fucking repressed because you know I'm older than I look, 37 years old, the 90s, like
you look
wasn't
older
as
than you look. I'm 35.
I meant younger than I look,
Oh,
like
I'm about to
younger.
say,
My bad.
like,
Sorry, brain, you know, but
30, you know,
younger
good.
than
What you
I
talking
look.
about?
30, older than I look. Younger than I look. Sorry,
I'm
I get a little nervous on these things, so my brain and the mouth get a little misaligned there. But anyway, so the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't really like a safe time. Like trans people were not represented, and if they were, it was never in a positive light.
It was very yes.
And so I kept that shit inside, and I got to a point where it was like cross dressing and stuff, and I had my own insecurities of like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'll never be a woman, you know, because I'm not living up to these colonized heteronormative beauty standards or whatever. So like I kind of struck a bargain with myself in 2018 of like, well, I'm just going to be non-binary, you know, because then at least I don't have to pass, quote unquote. You know, that was my own ignorance, my own fear at the time. But it was liberating in some ways, but I still felt like something was missing. I still wasn't feeling good in my body. I still was ashamed of the fact that I would put on dresses and makeup in private, you know. And then summer of 2021, I found drag, doing these drag shows in city parks and wearing heavy makeup and wearing feminine clothes for that time made like I couldn't hide from it anymore. This is me. I am a woman, and it doesn't matter how I look. It doesn't matter how my body looks. Fuck what anybody else says. And that's kind of what was the tipping point for me. Also, the death of my partner was also a tipping point because I was like, you know, he didn't get to see all of me, you know, and I regretted a lot of that because I could have had that space to transition. He would have loved and supported me, but I couldn't drop my ego, my insecurity. And I said to myself, I'll never let that dictate my life ever again.
That part. That part. And you know, you're here, you're thriving. I've witnessed some of your shows that you're doing. Fucking amazing, by the way. You should check it out if you're in the New York City area. Um, you're living your life. And you're living your life on your terms. You're living your life on fucking your dime. Like, this is who I am. If you don't like it, that's a you fucking problem.
Exactly.
I don't care.
Exactly.
I'm gonna do me.
Exactly. I wear my queerness on my sleeve because you know what? I don't want to conform. I don't want to fit into the cishet world because at the end of the day, it's got nothing for me. So, you know, and also because of my circumstances, I never had a real youth. I never had a real childhood, you know, so I don't want to go through the rest of my life knowing or thinking rather that I missed anything. I want to experience it. I'm pursuing joy. That's the point. I'm pursuing lots and lots of kinky ass sex with multiple partners, and I wear that. That's pride for me. You know, that's something I'm proud of. And also, you know, maybe this is a little immature and petty, but I don't give a fuck. I love making cis-het men feel uncomfortable. I enjoy that shit. It's cathartic for me.
What? Yeah. So you're doing the things of the things. We're gonna take this little short break, kind of like When we come back, we are definitely going to get into Pegasus. We are definitely going to get into polyamory and some shit like that. And we'll be back after these messages. Okay? Hi, everybody. Welcome back to In the Life with Boogie B. I am your host, of course, Boogie B. I am joined here with Loki, and we are talking about all the things of the things, primarily kink and queer and trans and all of that fun shit. But now we're going to dive into the polyamory. We're going to dive into that world because you're poly, I'm poly. And we all know that in polyamorous relationships, it's it requires a lot more than a monogamous relationship.
Polyamory is just for people with a scheduling kink.
That part. That part. And it doesn't have a set thing. It doesn't have a set way of going about it. I've seen polyamorous relationships and dynamics where it was just 3 people. I've seen a whole fucking network of people. I've seen solo poly. So it's all up to how you want to go about it and how you're comfortable with it. So my polyamorous life, I have 3 partners. I love them dearly, and I am currently not looking for any more partners. Play partners and shit like that and doing scenes, I'm here for it. But when it comes to like relationship, I feel like I have what I need. They give me what I need, and I give them what they need, and it kind of meshes like that. So, how does your poly?
Well, at the
work?
moment, I'm sticking to one partner because, I'm not going to go into detail, but I have a lot of mental health issues. I can only manage one right now.
Mhm.
And I love him. His name is Kai. He is amazing. I nicknamed
Hey,
him
Kai.
Hot Tub Boy. Hey, Kai. I love you. I nicknamed him Hot Tub Boy because we first, I'm not going to say we first met. We met earlier, but I forgot about it because it was just kind of a random meet. But after that, there wasn't really any communication. I met Kim at a T for T kink takeover at Fire Island.
If y'all wasn't in the building for that, y'all missed it. That shit was amazing.
And we were hooking up in the hot tub. I learned something about myself. I can hold my breath underwater for a very, very long time.
I was there. I went. I saw it. I was like, okay, girl, I see you.
You're like, is she gonna drown? Right.
Are you okay?
Is she dead?
I don't want to interrupt the scene, but I need to make sure my sis is good. Once I found out she was, I'm like, cool, go ahead, do what you're doing.
I mean, I was coughing up chlorine for like 4 days, but I regret nothing.
Okay. She was down there. Like, she was down.
Yeah, it was hot. And, like, I thought it would be just a hookup, but we saw each other again, and after recently, like about 3 weeks ago, he told me he loved me, and we became a thing after that. And I was kind of holding back on saying it because I didn't want to complicate things, and it took the words out of my mouth. And and he's just really just beautiful. He's this really hot trans man, and T for T feels good. Even though above all else, I still consider myself a lesbian, and being with a trans man doesn't make me any less of a lesbian.
Right.
Because Leslie Feinberg, I don't care what you say, Leslie Feinberg and Stormy Delavari were both trans masks. There's no way you could tell me different on that.
I know that's right.
So fuck you to the Terps. I love making y'all's head explode. I'll never get sick of that shit.
You heard it here first. Only on the Boogie B show. But wow, that's amazing. That's great. So is your relationship also intertwined with kink, or is it just it's separate?
Well, we're still exploring that right now. Getting used to each other in terms of kink. He's always been more curious than anything else, which is awesome because that challenges me to learn more and get closer to him.
That exchange of power.
He's getting into pet play, which is awesome.
Really?
And it fits because he is like a little puppy.
I gotta show you where the events are. The good ones, not the ones that's about to fuck shit. But the good ones.
Fuck shit in the bedroom though.
We can do all the debauchery in the
That's the
bedroom.
fun shit.
Right.
The good fuck shit.
The good function, not that fuck shit. That
You
we-
know, like so that's where I'm at right now.
Okay.
And you know, I'm also staying away from pickup play and hookups because I realize something. It's not good for me as a trans woman battling dysphoria, me personally,
Mhm.
because this happens a lot in the sapphic community where it's like you get these hookups, but they ghost you after because like they feel invalidated by
Mhm.
sleeping with the trans woman. You know, they feel like less of a lesbian and you become a source of shame. And
Really? Wow.
I don't want to be a source of shame for anyone.
Uh-huh.
I was in a 1.5 year relationship where I was somebody's shame, and I'm not doing that shit anymore. I
That
don't want to
sounds
fucking do it.
dreadful. Like that sounds like wow. Like you go through that whole shit of whether you're meeting them online or app or whatever the fuck, and then like you hook up and they just totally look at you different afterwards. That's kind of fucked up. And
Well-
like I tell people, listen, no, I'm sorry. Like I tell people, like just because we're in the alphabet soup, just because we're queer and we're doing all the fucking queer shit, there's still assholes on this side of the camp.
Hell
too.
yeah, there
There
is.
still is assholes on the side of the camp, and we understand that. We get that. So don't lump us with the assholes of the group. But we recognize who we got in the whole soup shit. So that's terrible. That's just horrible. Don't do that. Or be upfront. Hey, I just want to hook up, and we go our separate ways after we do what we do. But don't do that, or don't say anything.
Be honest about it, right? You know, communication is key. You know, like hurting somebody's feelings, fucked, and also, I'm honest about my mental health struggles.
Right.
Plus, I got the beautiful princess disorder, so that's another reason hookups aren't good for me. You know,
princess disorder. I've never heard of that term before.
Borderline personality. I call it beautiful princess.
Okay. I'm like, do I consider myself a princess? But I'm like, well, I never knew it was a term. Okay, got you. So we're gonna segue right on back into Pegasus because I got to actually see what Pegasus was like through you.
Yep, I patched this queerdo in.
You sure did. You sure did. And from that experience, again, for me, like I've been in the leather, I've been in the scene for maybe like at that time, like it was really like I'm still really new. Like I'm still doing navigation and searching, but coming into terms of who I was as far as my gender identity, as far as my orientation, as far as how I want to be perceived, I noticed that a lot of clubs were not in support of how I identify specifically. And I went through the whole process of thinking, okay, this is where I'm going to fit in. This is where I'm going to build my, whole leather journey and stuff like that, only to be let down. And so when I heard about Pegasus, I was like, okay, I don't know much about it. I know you, and I know that you're not going to be in something that is toxic or something that is going to be.
Of course not. And
yeah. So
and I feel like more than anything, like leather culture has been dominated by cis gay males, especially white ones, for the longest time. So I feel like, you know what, it's our time now. And if we don't change, we don't evolve, it's going to die because there are more younger people who are gender diverse than ever before because they're getting that safe space to come out. And leather should be a culture that should be available to them.
Right.
So the culture and tradition does not die. I want leather, BDSM, all that culture to be here when I'm long gone.
Exactly. It's to evolve. Like, you hear the shit of old guard, new guard, and stuff like that. And I'm the type that's like, I respect the old guard. I respect what was. I respect the traditions that they had in place to keep people
Of
safe.
course.
What I don't like and what I don't respect is the fact that you're telling me that I have to be a certain way or I have to be a part of here, or if I
Exactly.
look differently than what you expecting, that I don't even belong in the same period. Like, fuck you. Who the fuck are you?
At the end of the day, I respect people who respect me.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And if you're not going to respect me, fuck you. I don't
That
give a
part.
shit how long you've been in this scene or what your fucking awards and titles are. Like, because if you're letting
Mean
that
shit to
shit go to your head, if you think it makes you better or superior to anyone else, you're garbage. All right? You're garbage because that's just insecurity.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
Like you're holding on to something that is at the end of the day, once the shit is over, once the fucking stage comes down and people go to wherever the fuck they go, you are a fucking human being at the end of the day.
exactly.
Your title or your prestige is not gonna fucking matter to the bill collector. It ain't gonna matter to the motherfucking real world. They're like, you still gotta pay that bill. I don't give a fuck who you are.
Congrats on titles and experiences, community, no hate. But those are all external. I already know that shit about you on first meeting. I want to see what's beneath all that.
Right.
And you know what? If it ain't much, it still ain't much. You can polish a turd, but it's still a turd.
That part. That part. And people think, oh, you're being rude or you're not respecting. Absolutely, I'm respecting. But at the end of the day, like you said, like, I want to get to know the person. And if you're going to sit there and you're going to claim that you're for the community, you're for, building bridges and diversity, all that shit, while you're on stage, while the camera's on you, then I want to see that being done when the cameras are not on. Exactly. I want to see I want to see you doing the work that you said you're going to do. At the end of the day, you could tell anything. You could put on the biggest, grandest speech and it could be so nice and well prepared and all that shit. But if you're not doing the work, if you're not doing the work in the fucking communities that matter, then that title it's just a piece of leather at the end of the day. Yeah. It's just so and so, Mr. or Mrs. whatever. Da 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 da.
Congratulations, you got approval from people who don't know you all that well.
A glorified package. That's what it is. And no disrespect to the people in the title holders in the title holder scene, but you have those who just want that recognition just to say I have something, but they don't necessarily put the work behind it. They don't put the effort behind it. It sounds cute. So to them, yeah, it's a glorified pageant, and I have no respect for them because it's like you're using us as a vehicle to further your fucking personal agenda. Oh, I ain't got time for that. Not on these parts. I'm sorry, and I'll say it to whomever, wherever. That part. But yeah, Pegasus. So what I got from Pegasus is a club that is heavily centered around non-binary and trans people, and it is the most friendliest group of people that I have ever met. And I didn't even meet them in person apart from this one. So just getting that experience and just seeing everybody who was involved, it made me feel more comfortable to go ahead with that process and to go through that, that vetting period, go through that referral period, go through all that to finally get patched and to be a representative of that, and to know that I can do that and I can still do the other things that I'm doing with, Leather Boys of Color and planning events and stuff. And it doesn't overlap because at the end of the day, it's about doing the fucking work. And I'm Prinxess of the queerdos, okay? So anything for the queerdos, and I'm talking about the queerdos who are outside of the binary spectrum, outside of the norms, like the queers and the trans and the non-binaries and the gender queers and all of those people who they consider weird, I'm for that. So the fact that Pegasus was not, I want to say design, but it was like centered around that and want to build upon that, I'm here for 100 fucking %.
And we don't have any hazing rituals or anything like that. We just want to know what kind of person you are. Unless you ask for it. If you want a hazing ritual, I'll give it to you. If you want to patch in the hard way with consent, I got you. Some people are into that, and I'm happy to oblige.
Consent is very.
Because I'm a sadistic bitch. So yeah.
She was in a motherfucking hot tub. So if you ask, I'm pretty sure it'll be under consideration. I'm pretty sure of that. Yeah, I don't even know what else to talk about. We could talk about a lot. Is there anything that you wanted to specifically talk about that we can get into? Because we got time.
All right. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty good at touching on everything. I'm blunt as all hell. But I guess I'll just leave with this. This is a message to all the trans people who are struggling to make their way in the world, who are struggling with their bodies and don't know where to come out. Just remember, at the other side of all this, there's a better life and better world waiting for you. And safety is a great thing, but most of the time, safety don't mean a thing if you're wishing death upon yourself every fucking day. So don't be afraid. Embrace who you are, because I believe we only get one shot at this thing called life. So make it count. I love you, especially the trans youth. You know where to find me. There's support out there for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on that note, is there any way you want people to reach you at, to follow you?
Yes. Lokia Slut on Instagram, LOKIA Slut SLUTT. Look out for more drag shows. I am walking in a queer fashion show at New Women's Space at 9 o'clock in Brooklyn. So yeah, you can catch me there. Look that up. It'll be on my Instagram. So shameless plug right there. And also I'd like to give a shout out to my siblings at Butch Monthly for welcoming a trans women lesbian. I never thought I could be a butch and a trans and trans, but I can. And it's nice to know there are people in the world who affirm that. So yeah, as we chant, I'll leave you with this. Butch, Butch, Butch. Love you.
Y'all already know where to find me. So, and on that note, we're gonna close out. Thank you once again for being on the show and being
Always.
a guest.
Love you.
Oh man, I will catch y'all on the next episode of In the Life with Boogie B. More debauchery, more queer shit, more off the cuff, just whatever you want to talk about, because it's your journey, and I'm just here to give you a platform to talk about your motherfucking journey. Okay? So I will see y'all when I see y'all.